Simone just said, it's your podcast, you're the host, you can do whatever you want.
I regret it now.
I bet you do.
I regret it.
I bet you do. But with that in mind, welcome to Calling the Audible. I'm Jim Clethris. We're joined in studio right now by the fabulous Mokan, our producer.
Thank you. Unfortunately, the Flag Plus football site is actually down for me, so
it's fair. If you want tether off of Eagle, in the meantime, we will go over to Simone. Thank you so much for joining us. Coming in, replacing Alex Hulwack, who replaced Jim Clethris, who replaced Keith Delores.
Thank you, Jim. Always happy to be here.
Yeah. No.
Okay, be here, yes, with Jim.
Yeah. Exactly.
But it's okay, I still love you.
Wait, you prefer to be with Mo than over GM?
he knows it.
Puzzles.
I love
puzzles.
puzzles, yeah. But puzzles bring beer. Mo brings attitude.
Very true. Very true. Let's move on.
Yeah, moving on. There were some teams that brought it, some teams that didn't. That's the closest I can get to a segue in this. Backyard Bullies losing to the Alpha T's 33-30.
Great game.
Yeah, it was a great game.
Great game.
Backyard Bullies couldn't come up with a stop.
Very true. I spoke to Rich after the game, and that's exactly what he said. Our offense put up points, but we just couldn't make any stops.
Also, extra point attempts cost them.
Yeah. Wow, 32-30.
Lost by three.
We're gonna
Thanks,
get
Mo. Thanks for the
we're
math.
gonna
Lost by three, though.
into them a little bit more in depth as we talk about the quarterfinal games. But how dangerous are the Alpha T's right now?
Very. I think they're that Cinderella team, and it's not Jaeger bombs.
Crimson, just before that, Global Gym Purple Cobras edged out the Tyrants 39-25. What happened to the Tyrants here? Did the wheels fall off in the second half of the season? We see guys not giving it their all.
The roster was not the same for a playoff game. That's what I spoke to Phil Devakovic after the game. That's what he says. We're missing guys for the playoffs. It sucks. But the team was really struggling.
Yeah, Dukovic mentioned as well, we noticed that Andre Frederick, Prime, wasn't making those types of key plays, wasn't that key player on offense and defense that he normally is for this team, and it showed. He got a big UR penalty early on in the game, and it seemed to change his outlook severely.
It hurts. If you get a big penalty early on, you not only do you give up yardage, but then referees look at you a different way. And then you're stuck being that guy that really can't do. You can't go all out anymore because you're gonna get kicked out of the game. So you're a bit holding back. You're playing at 90%. Next thing you know, people are making plays over your head, and you're getting rolled over.
One of the tightest games of divisional round I found. The Hot Boys Hotline, Crimson Tide. Hot Boys Hotline get edged out 24-30 over Crimson Tide. Crimson Tide really bouncing back after a Week 10 loss and came to play.
Well, I picked Hot Boys Hotline, and
I think most of us would have, and it all came to those late game interceptions that just reared their ugly head. We mentioned early on in the season that this would be their downfall. It wasn't the case. They really had a chip on their shoulder. They played their hearts out, and then Eagle, did you fall back into old habits? Did the team just implode?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, without shitting on the team and everything, I think there was a little bit of mental weakness on a few plays. People weren't fighting for the balls at the receivers. There were some bad and stupid reads. When it was we were down by 2 scores at one point. We really needed to score, and I said, okay, 2-minute drill, guys, let's go. There was huddles, stuff like that. It was long to execute play, so there's a lot of mental mistakes made in that game. I would say overall, the team, we played well, but Crimson Tide, they showed up. They did exactly what they needed to do, and there were some matchups on the field that we weren't comfortable with, and we were playing against them, and they took advantage of it a couple times. And then the other times we got some key stops, we got a nice pick, and then we gave it right back, and that's the game.
That's it.
Mo, any insight in this as well?
Well, look, I for one picked Eagles team to win. Came up short again. Look, you look at Crimson Tide.
Not nice.
Their biggest problem, I thought, going into the playoffs was their inability to close out halves. I remember scorekeeping their game earlier in the season. They were up by, I think it was 25 points at the time. They ended up almost blowing that game against DG Goons and then winning by like 5 or 6. So the confidence level for me is that, hey, as great as they are with Pesno as quarterback, would that translate well at this point in the season? And it did this time around. And I think for him, it's a growing pain for him to learn to be a quarterback with Dougie McKernan, who is a great guy to learn from once he gets better and more experience in the FPF levels.
5-star prospects, 31-19 over the Diablos. We all knew Luis Bégin wasn't going to be a factor in this game, being overseas in France. Are you surprised with this turnout, with the lack of production, I guess, from Gabe Wiseman and George Olivier?
I predicted a 2-score win from 5-star prospects. That's exactly what happened. François Martin forced the ball to Georges on every second throw. He was not open. The Firefox prospect
it was
adjusted.
there at the beginning. He had
Yes.
one catch for 39 yards, tackled on the 1-yard line. After François Martin threw an interception, he aired it out to George for 40. So some of those were on point.
It was there
but
earlier,
it
and
stops
then
being there.
5-star's prospect adjusted because you can't leave one guy walking over your defense. Next thing you know, François doesn't. He just keeps going to the same guy, forcing the ball to the same guy while you have other checkdowns open, and you end up losing a football game by 2 scores that just got out of hand.
How do a team like the Diablos rebuild from here?
Well, the core team is good. There's something good in there. Let's not be bitches about it. They play well all season long. They adjusted properly. I think they're just missing experience. That's really what they're missing. They have the athletes, they have the talent. They're just missing experience, and they're making key mistakes, and that's all it is.
Key mistakes were the difference in the next game as well. Gotham Knights 21-18 over Tomahawk Nightmare. Couple of goal line flusters really turned the tide in the favor of Gotham Knights.
Yeah.
Fill us in a little bit more about
I
it.
feel that the rusher Chevalier really played really well against Marquez. He shut him down. He couldn't run as much. He couldn't scramble as much. He took the running game away, which Jeff likes to go to a lot, and he really was a key player. When it came down to it, he had a 40-yard run as a rusher, as a running back. He got ended the ball, ran for 40 yards, broke like 4 tackles, and made it all the way. Something you don't see often. He's fast, he's deceptive, and I think he was the X factor in the game.
You kept this game. I was there. I don't know if there's really a lot to talk about here. Formerly edging out Bronx Bombers 25-0.
There isn't much to say. Formerly teamless. Really, they started off really well. It was 25-zit fast, and then the game just struggled. Bronx Bombers was out of it. They weren't playing anymore. Formerly forever decided not to keep going at it.
Formerly forever.
Formerly forever, and they just stopped. 25. The game was over about halftime. There isn't much to say. The Bronx Bombers offense went nowhere. James had brain farts for most of the first half, and then the game was over.
Les Affreux over D's Nuts. Does this surprise you?
Yes. Why? Because my boy Matt Dumont played quarterback and won a playoff game. That doesn't happen.
He has more playoff wins than you?
No. I do have playoff wins. But yes, he subbed in because Jonathan Lemieux started off the game. They started off well. Then I think it was second or third drive, he went down with something looked like a back cramp. He stayed on the ground for a long time. Came off the field, was limping, didn't look so good. Mathieu Dumont took over as quarterback, as he used to be the Zafco's quarterback back in the days. And he just made magic happen. The team rallied around him. He switched his offense. He didn't try to go deep because he doesn't have the arm to throw 40 yards. He went with some sort of 2.5 dance kind of offense, using a lot of hitches and a lot of slants. It worked out really well. It came down to the last drive where these nuts needed to make a key stop. Dumont ran in for the touchdown, and the game was over.
The next game, I'd like to say I was surprised, but we really weren't, considering just the lack of production Warhawks have had against the top tier, the teams that actually perceived to be a threat against them, rather than preying against the bottom.
That's very not true. They went down to the very last play, and it was a very terrible. I'll call Laurent Douceur out. Horrible play on defense. It came to the very last play. It was 33-33, tied at the last play. All they need to do was make a stop and force overtime. Everybody knew the ball was going to Dalloz. It's what he does.
Yep.
He ran an in and out. La Douceur bit on the in, stepped in. As soon as he went out, you saw it in his eyes that he just got beaten. The corner stayed with the wide receiver. Completed. Duchesne just threw a nice ball right in Dalloz's hands. The game was over. But it was a really good game. Warhawks played well. Their defense stepped up. They only allowed 33 points up till that very last play. They gave Manette enough chances to win, but I really think it came down not to the roster, not to the rusher, not to any position, but Fred Manette should have scored more than 33 points in the amount of drives he had.
So at that point, was the beast slain? Because everyone was worried about Warhawks all season, and then they seem to have dispatched them reasonably easily. They put up a lot of points against them, allowing a lot of points, but YOLO, and then they won.
When they said 8-0, 8-0, 8-0, that's when the season went downhill for the Warhawks.
Yeah. But they did score up points when they lost. They lost to these nuts 42-39. We all saw the game of the week. They lost Jaeger bombs on the last play. They did put up 33 points. It's not that they're not productive and not putting out points. They're just not making the key stop at the end. On the very last drive, I think it was Etienne, I don't remember his last name, number 9, had the interception in his hands and dropped it. Literally, he jumped the route, put both hands on the ball, dropped the ball, and then Jaeger bombs ended up scoring. So they had the chance to make key plays, it just didn't.
So with that in mind, we're going to take a quick little break. We're here in the Sportira cage where if it's not in the cage, it's not in the game. We're going to take a couple seconds. We're going to come back, discuss the quarterfinal games that happened on Tuesday, and then preview the semifinal games as well.
Calling the Audible has been brought to you by the English Montreal School Board's DEAL program. Distance education for all learners will allow you to obtain your high school diploma or prerequisites for CEGEP or vocational studies from the comfort of your own home. It's never too late to go back to school. Learn anywhere at your own pace and get your diploma. Call 514-788-5937 for information or visit www.distanted.ca for more details.
And we're back on Calling the Audible. Mo seems interested as ever, bringing up some key stats, no doubt.
I should just check on my Twitter if there's any tweets for this show.
No one tweets this show. No one tweets any show.
But if they were to, where would they tweet?
You would be tweeting at Mocon19, at Dagenus FPF, or at GMCole44, or at Eagle FPF, where the likelihood of something being read flourishes right now.
Or the likelihood of this showing up on a podcast is very high.
It's a picture of Brent Calendar.
Thank you for those of us playing the radio game.
Please, Brent Calendar.
His eyes are following me.
I've been bashing Brent Calendar for the past 10 weeks,
Yeah,
but
you
he
know
really
what?
been playing well.
Yeah, and
I'll be honest.
we left it all out on the field at that game. I spent some time with him afterwards. We discussed it.
Great segue, Jim.
Yeah, honestly, I'm gonna since we're segueing like that, I'm gonna skip a little bit ahead. Talk about the formerly teamless against Crimson Tide game. We're gonna discuss it, but Crimson Tide came to play.
Oh, it was a good game. I was not scorekeeping that field, and I was watching that game.
Neither was I.
Yeah, no one who score kept that game was disinterested.
Nice way to call out John. But no, it was a good game. It came down to the last stretch. It went back and forth most of the game. It was very interesting to see what Chris Pensano could do against some more seasoned defense. He played well up to the last 2 drives. Let's be honest about it. He played really well up to the last 2 drives. He made some key mistakes that
a fourth and red zone interception by François Delaurier. F3T marched up. From an insider's perspective, in the huddle, we're all huddled up. John Brown is just outside the red zone.
No, about 10 yards out at least, maybe 11.
10, 11 yards out. And in the huddle says, guys, I'm going to run it in. Do you trust me? And the huddle was silent.
That's fair.
But
it's
John
all
took off on that.
balls you're knowing that he actually decided to run and it just make like you watch your field. There's no reads. You make the rusher bite. You go for a run. You manage to get it. But if you call in the huddle that you're going for a run and you make it, props to him. Yeah. Props to John Brown.
That's like a Hollywood movie, straight out of a script.
Yeah, definitely.
Guys, I'm running in.
You see how he ran it too. He ran past the rusher, made it to a halfback in the corner, blitzed it in. He just squeaked in between the two. They missed the tackle, and it was in the end.
Not only that, there was 3 missed tackles. Rusher, second wave of defenders, and then at the goal line, Chris Pestano did not get the tackle.
Yeah,
and he was. I think they were all shell shocked by the fact that
definitely.
Hey, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, we just lost the football game because they were up. They had a shot at the end zone on the third. I think it was the third play, the third down. Chris Pensano rolled to his left, start running towards the line of scrimmage. There's 2 guys wide open in the back of the end zone. One of them was Doug, who he literally goes to every second play.
Yeah.
And he looked and he just threw a ball against the wall in the back of the end zone to nobody. He looked at his team, he's like, I'm sorry. Like, okay, that's fair. There's still a 4th down, right? And on the 4th down, very bad ball.
That's where the
Let's
interception.
be honest, that's when the interception came in, where François Deslauriers was covering well. He was right in front of the receiver. He just threw it up, and François Deslauriers is a bigger guy. He jumped up for the ball, got it.
But not only that, though. Sorry, Simon. I just thought, and we talked about Jim and I a couple of hours ago in our prep talk, when they dropped the second quarterback in there for Crimson Tide to give Pesno an option.
Yeah.
I know GM's point. I see his point. What he said. You should have thrown it to your other quarterback to give your receivers more time to get open, because it seemed like he just rushed that throw and didn't really think about.
For those of you who don't know, my point was, I would absolutely allow that throw to that halfback happen. You don't want Pansino throwing the ball on the last play of the game, especially.
Well, he is your quarterback after all.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's your point? On the last play of the game,
yeah,
you don't want your quarterback to throw?
No, that's what I mean. As a member of formerly, we did not, like, in that halfback situation, our rusher would have not left Pansino. We want Paisano taken out of that play and becoming a receiver, and having someone who hasn't thrown a whole pass all game, who's cold. You as the opposition, you want that halfback.
I thought you meant the other way around. You don't want your quarterback to throw the ball, which doesn't make much sense to me. But still, yeah, I agree. You should, because it felt rushed. That's why the ball was not properly placed. Came down to it. He should have thrown to the halfback to buy time. Even if the halfback would have thrown it back to him afterwards to make the key throw, he still would have got that 5-6 seconds.
Exactly, which Mo
open
mentioned, as you said, that the play did not
develop
at all.
There's no development to the play.
The guys were sitting there, and the defense had the opportunity on top. Because if you have to go to the defense waiting for you in the end zone, it has to come into the end zone.
Yeah, you need to establish your position as a receiver in front of someone, or basically, even when the ball's in the air, have time to get to the ball instead of running into the end zone and going, oh, where is it?
Yeah.
You know.
With that development in mind, Alpha T's right now, their stock just keeps rising. They edge out Gotham Knights 38-32.
That was a good game.
It was a great game.
Crowd noise being a factor.
Well, Alpha T showed up with like 35 fans.
You can tell they're new to the league.
Not a single
I love it. It's so refreshing.
Yes.
It's amazing.
It looks like Jaeger Bombs a few winters ago. But
Jaeger Bombs Alpha T's is going to be a good one.
It's good, yeah, but we're not getting there yet, Eagle. Anyhow, now Alpha T's, they beat Backyard Bullies on a close one. Now they beat Gotham Knights on another close one. They're clutch. That's what I have to say. Is they're making mistakes all game long. Jean Lucier is not perfect. He's not the perfect quarterback that throws no interceptions, no turnovers. They make mistakes, but they rally around him. They rally around their team. They're confident when they play football. And when it comes down to it, it's always come down to, listen, Jean, I'm giving you this one last shot. Don't fuck it up, and he doesn't.
What could Gotham Knights have done differently to seal the deal for this?
Well, the rusher was injured in the second half. He came off limping the field. He stopped rushing. They had to put Alex Provencher in. He's not as good as Chevalier was. Chris Rivet made some key mistakes in the second half. His offense didn't flourish as much as he should have. It looked like there was a bit of confusion between the receivers and the quarterback. The quarterback was asking for something. The receivers were running something else. It ended up that the receiver was saying, I'm open, but the quarterback was saying that was not your route or something like that. At the end of the day, when the pressure's on, you need to be on the same page. Regardless of what that page is, you need to be on the same one.
That's fair. 5-star prospects, 30. Global Gym Purple Cobras, 14. Did we expect it to be this lopsided? Eric Marino threw 4 INTs. It's tied for his career worst.
Yeah, but his career is a single season.
Yeah. Okay, so
yeah.
Not only that, though, it's
the highest out of 11 games.
For Purple Cobras, though, some of the guys were playing back-to-back games with 2.5 downs. So some of these guys were a bit fatigued coming into the next game at hand.
And they're playing. They're both playing both ways too. It's not just like I'm playing wide receiver one game and the next game I'm playing wide receiver again. They're playing both ways twice. But no, I have to agree. I didn't expect it to be that much of a blowout. 5-stars prospect took control of the game. Jordan Moses looked really good out there. His defense was on point, and Global Gym went nowhere.
So Anderson, 2 touchdowns, 2 INTs. Alex Ganter, 1 of each as well.
Anderson's the X factor on that team. If it's not for the quarterback, because everybody knows if the quarterback plays well, you'll win games. But if it's not for Jordan Moses, it's Jeremy
when
Anderson.
You say Anderson, do you mean
Jeremy
or Earl?
Jeremy.
Mr. Anderson to you
Mr.
guys.
Anderson.
Mr. Anderson. No, Jeremy. He's really that good, and when he's playing in Div D, he's dangerous.
Okay. Do you see this team, Global Gym Purple Cobras, do you see them continuing to exist? Or will it be like DX of the season past, where another member of the farm team for 2.5 Dans will step up and play quarterback?
Depends. Were they having fun? I think so.
I think so too.
Did they have success? I think so. Why would, if they all want to play 2 teams back in winter, because that's what's going to happen. If 2.5 Dans are probably going to come back regardless. So if these guys accept to play 2 teams, we're going to see Global Gym Purple Cobras, maybe under another name, come back with Eric at the helm, because he did well in the lower division. So they're going to have a farm team and a main team.
Well, they seem to like taking the role for their farm team of like giving them like a villain name. Like they were DX the first time around, Global Gym Purple Cobras, the bad guys from Dodgeball. I don't know what we would be looking at next. Would it be Team Iceland from D2?
Not bad.
Gunnar Stahl?
Not bad.
With that in mind, Jägerbomb Les Affreux, 32-24. Joe Lemieux, you alluded to his injury earlier. Watched that game from the sidelines.
Well, not only Joe Lemieux, Mathieu Dubois, their best two-way player, was also on sidelines with a back injury. The score was closer than the game actually was. It was 26-22 at some point, or 26-24 at some point for Jägerbombs. Jägerbombs at the ball, or Zephyr at the ball. Anyways, the end of the game was not as close as it should have been. Jägerbombs did not score to finish the game, but they took control of the game in the second half. Mathieu Demont's offense was working in the first half. He was playing well. He was confident, but it seems like they just ran out of juice second half. The defense started crumbling. The offense was not so well anymore. And Jägerbomb looked like they wanted the game more than Zephyr.
Shane looked fantastic. Despite 3 sacks from Daniel Belfeuille, he still went 17 for 21.
Yeah, but
5
Belfeuille's
touchdowns.
a great rusher. Yeah, you got to give it to the guy.
No, but that's what I mean. He's a great. But it seemed like it didn't even take Shane off of his game at all. Is this reminiscent of their playoff run in the winter?
I think so. I really think so. Remember, in winter, they were 0-2 or 0-3 to start off the year,
Yep.
made a run. And same thing, they sort of came in covert. No one really talked about them. And then 1 win, 2 wins. Confidence started to grow game by game, pass by pass. And look where they are now. Can they win this game and maybe close it out if they get to the finals on August
But I feel
9th?
like they don't get the respect they deserve because of what I did last winter, where it was a lot more of a Cinderella story than it is right now.
But remember, they had a 2-score lead in that second half, which lost to the U.
The U, yeah, because they were unable to cover the run.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they coughed that game away. They had that game, and they
They should have won that game.
Yeah, they should have.
Yeah. Anyhow,
Yeah, we move just like they move on to the semifinals. We move on to it as well. Formerly teamless.
3 for 3 this week, Jim.
I think we're at like 5 or 6 right now
Yeah,
against 5-star prospects. What interests me the most is not just being on this team, but these 2 teams haven't played each other. We have no benchmark for this whatsoever. I guess the biggest question, first of all, is are F3T going to be able to keep Jordan Moses in the pocket?
no. Formerly Forever, which I officially renamed you guys. No, I don't think so. I think Jordan Moses is fast enough, he's shifty enough, and you guys don't have the rusher to contain him. If you send John Brown at him, he's going to burn him. If you send someone else at him, unless you send Kwesi at him, which could be an idea.
I don't think that's going to be the case, having some inside information.
Well, I don't, so let's pretend.
Yeah.
If you send Kwesi at him, maybe you can make some magic happen. Maybe you could force some bad throws, because Jordan Moses, when you take that, you force him into throwing earlier than he usually does, makes some mistakes.
Mo, I think, is ready with the right answer of what's going to happen. I can see the wheels turning in your head.
Well, look, I think for Jordan Moses, his biggest issue is the short game. Yeah, I'm not saying I've seen every game from 5-star prospect. From what I've seen so far, the throws aren't as crisp. We've seen a couple one-hoppers to the receiver who may be within 5 to 10 yards of where he's lined up. I think that's going to be key. He's got to make those short throws to make it 2nd and 4, 2nd and 3, as opposed to 2nd and 10. And once it's 2nd and 3 or 2nd and 4, he can run, and that gives him the ability to be a dual threat quarterback out of Vince Young.
There you go.
Yes.
But I would say when I watched them play last week, he tried to run a lot. It looked like he developed plays to run, and it didn't go his way in the second half. So if you try it against Formerly Forever, I don't think it's going to go so well. But I think he learned from last week's experience, so he's not going to do that mistake again.
So, your 5-star prospects.
Yes.
Where do you line up your defenders? Who do you put your best defenders? Jeremy Anderson, Alex Gander. Who do you put them up against?
I put Jordan Moses on Kwesi. And I put Jeremy Anderson as a safety on top of where either Kwesi or Khalil is lined up. And I play safe. I force Jonathan Brown to make 30 to 35 completions in the game instead of 14 or 16.
I think you're wrong. I think you put Jeremy Anderson on Khalil on the fact that like Jordan Moses can line up with Khalil Kerr, and you got Anderson on Kwesi.
But what happens to everybody else?
But I'm saying that if you want to go with that so-called matchup locking up with each other, I just think style-wise, those players are more conducive to line up with those guys.
But I don't think Jeremy Anderson has the speed to put up with Khalil.
But he can get physical. No, but
yeah, he can get physical.
He can
But
get physical
I think Jordan
with-
Moses has the speed to put up with Khalil. I don't think Jeremy has the speed to put up with Kwesi. So if Kwesi goes on 40-yard bombs and gets it every time, that game could be
But if
over
he gets
fast.
him within the first 5 yards and keeps him within range underneath him, he's got help. He's got help over the top, man.
What happens to the other three receivers that are on? I mean, you still have some big guys, some threats there. They're not as fast or deceptive. I mean,
Yeah, you have
right?
Shem Kletchers.
Yeah, thank you. I guess this kind of does lead into our next segment because we're talking about where you put Ganter and Moses and Anderson. But is this team too top heavy right now? Like, it's without a doubt that the playmakers on five-star prospects, so the top tier, so Anderson, Ganter, and Moses,
Yeah. Fair.
are far better than any individuals on F3T, but are F3T a deeper roster?
Yes.
By far.
Because F3T doesn't come down to Khalil or Kwesi making plays. Sometimes you can see Delorgy come down with the key interceptions. You see
Steve Hadhad.
number 10, I don't remember his name.
Oh, Sam Hansen.
Yeah, come down with something. Steve doesn't do much, let's be honest here. But he calls a great defense. Got to give props to that.
Got a little homeboy in him. Let's go! Okay, Steve, you're a teacher. Don't forget about what your real life job is.
I think playoffs, it comes down to who has the deepest roster, and in this case, F3T has the deeper roster on five-star prospect.
I think this matchup is the perfect example of two completely different styles of building a team from a cap management perspective. You have one team that stocked itself up at the high end and then kind of filled it with, no offense, with scrubs. And then you have the other side who went for the whole Moneyball era type of thing where you
Unknowns.
find underrated, unknown players. Everyone is balanced. You fit the cap. You have a balanced roster with a lot of depth. No, I would say complete standouts as much as you have great athletes. But yeah, there's no one person that's kind of the one person like Anderson has to be shut down, for example, for 5
Yeah,
star.
there's
right?
two.
Yeah,
You take away
you know something's wrong when I take up more cap room than some of these players. That's sad.
That'll be adjusted in October.
That's
Yeah.
fine. I'm fine with that. Winter plans, neither here nor there. We'll get to our picks later on, but for now, Jaegerbomb, Alpha T's, two teams who have just come almost out of nowhere.
This is bound to be amazing.
Bring your
La-
friends out to watch this one.
Yeah. The last time they
will.
met, the Alpha T's actually, despite being the lower seed, the Alpha T's won the last time they met, 45-25. Lucier won 23 for 28, 6 TDs, 1 INT. Shane 13 for 27, 4 TDs, 4 INTs. But huge, Jesse Dupuis, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and JF Delos with 3 touchdowns.
So,
We're talking about top-heavy teams right here?
for any fans here, bring a chair because there's not going to be room in the stands, and bring hair muffs because these guys are fucking loud. But it's going to be a great game. I think this is going to be the best game of the next 3, including the finals. Just because of the way these two teams play. They play very similar football. It comes down to a very similar type of quarterback. With, at least you can compare Jesse Dupuis to Dalloz. You can compare Duchesne to Lucier. I can see this game going on the last play, barn burner all the way. Neither team's going to give up. Every team wants this as much as the other one. I think Jaegerbomb has a bit more experience when it comes down to these type of games, but Alpha T's upset at the top 2 seeds in the past 2 weeks. They showed us that even if it's the playoffs, we know what we're doing.
Is Jaegerbomb's lack of playoff experience an issue for you right now? Is their lack of experience an issue?
You mean Alpha T's?
The Alpha T's, yes, sorry.
No. Like I just mentioned, they just beat the top 2 seeds. Now they're going against what we can say lower seed, although it's in my opinion, a better team than the ones they took down. I don't think it's going to be a factor.
No?
Look, I think for Alpha T's, they feed off the fans that show up. I think it's obvious. I seen them play 3 times during the regular season, and something that with Paul Del Rocco, who always point out they've improved every game, a la Game Changers when they first came in winter a couple years ago. Now, I'm not saying they're the same parallel as them, but I think with the fans being so loud, if they get involved in terms of the crowd noise being difficult for communications, that will be the X factor why they'll win.
They remind me a little bit more of from 2011, The Family's first season.
Yeah.
Right, I remember those guys. Yeah, and they won a couple of titles.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, and they made a couple of deep runs on top of that.
What do you take in this case? I'll ask you first, Mo, because I've been keeping my back to you for the...
That's okay, no worries.
They're producing anyways.
Simone started me out anyway.
Do you take the Jaegerbomb defense or the Alpha T's offense?
I think Deloz makes a big difference on the defense. Look at him. JF Deloz is arguably one of the... I think the next sought-out guy that can make the jump up to Division 3 next year or whatever it is. He's so good out there playing both ways that I think if you're Tats, you got to know where he's lining up because you don't want to go to that side of the field wherever he is because he can make a play and he can change momentum in favor of the Jaegerbomb.
I agree. So
that was, I believe, also is one of the Mongoose prospects for Div 3.
So what do? You put Jesse Dupuis on GF and watch how amazing that game will become?
Yeah, I guess that leads into our next question as well. Do you focus on Jesse Dupuis or do you try and beat them individually?
No. You stick with your game plan. At this point, guys, look, we know how it is at FPF. We always, watch out for this guy, watch out for that guy. Yeah, you're going to watch out for them, but don't stray away from your game plan. Look what made that last team successful because they stuck to their game plan.
See, I feel that's the difference. Is when the game comes down to 4 down, comes down to who needs to make a play, Shine goes to Delos. That's what he does. On the other hand, Lucie does not go to Dupuis when the game's on the line. He goes to whoever's open. And I believe that's a different maker. Where you see Jesse Dupuis take these long shots, Lucie takes these long shots at Dupuis deep down the field, which he gets a lot of yards, a lot of press for. But in the end, he was open. He made the read. The guy was open. He was not his first read necessarily. On the other hand, I feel like Simone Shine builds plays around GF Delos. He's going to be open on this route. He's getting the ball. And this might be something that's going to hurt them this week.
So it has become that time where we're going to go in and give our predictions. For the most part, I just get to sit here and watch you two argue about it. So first game, 5-star prospects, formerly Forever, as Simon calls them.
Formerly Forever. It's awesome.
Sounds like a really bad Batman movie.
Yeah, it's like starring like Simon Dash as Bruce Wayne.
Must be great. It's going to be great.
It's going straight to the DVD.
Do you know?
Do you have the nipples on your armor, or?
With that nipples in mind, predictions.
Go ahead, Mo.
The team that I helped create. Formerly teamless.
What's the spread?
I don't work that way.
Okay.
Give me formerly teamless to win.
What spread?
I
If I give you a 5.5 spread for formerly teamless, they'll cover?
They'll cover it.
Go ahead, Bird.
I think Moses is going to have a tough time moving up the field. I think the only times they're going to score is by putting the ball up and Anderson fights for it in the air and comes down with it, but that's not going to happen more than once or twice. So I'm going with Batman Forever.
Since it's my own spread, I would say formerly covers the spread because they're going to win by more than 1 score but less than 2, so about like 8 or 9 points.
All right.
And Jaegerbomb, the Alpha T's.
What's the spread here,
I
Jim?
think the
Spread here is Alpha T's 2.5.
the Tats
Awesome spread.
train comes to their last stop in Lachine. They'll not be going to Brassard. I think Jaegerbomb will win this game. Their experience definitely will outweigh anything that will be thrown at them. They've seen it all in the FPF. I think they go to the finals.
Eagle, I have, like I said, Alpha T's 2.5 on Jaegerbomb.
Ooh, that's a good. I'm gonna go with Jaegerbomb for the win. Actually, ever since I saw them when we first had to go to River Stage on VNE in the middle of nowhere, we saw them play, and I was there with Pease, thinking to myself, these guys are very impressive for a brand new team. And every time I watch them, I'm always amazed at how good they are. So I haven't seen Alpha T's that much this season, to be honest with you. But there's something about Jaegerbomb again that you get that vibe that something's going right with them. So I'm going with Jaegerbomb.
I'm going with Alpha T's. They will cover the points because it's gonna come down to Jaegerbomb has the ball, very last play of the game, and it's gonna be batted down by someone on the Alpha T's team to win it. And I'll say this as a preview for next week. Whoever wins this matchup wins the championship game.
Okay.
So with that in mind, I highly encourage you all to come out to Lachine on Sunday night. It's going to be 2 amazing games. You know there's going to be fans there. Contribute to that atmosphere. Till then, Mo, thank you so much for doing what you do.
Don't forget, next Thursday is a press conference.
Don't forget. So those teams who win, make sure you have a representative on hand for Thursday night here in Anjou for the press conference. So, Mo, thank you so much for doing all that you do.
Thank you, Jem, for having me.
My pleasure.
Don't forget, it's never too early or too late to buy your jersey that's portier for next season, as illustrated by GM's lovely jacket windbreaker, provided by the commish himself, Rob Campana.
So with that in mind, this is the end of the show.
For